Hi, Dana Warren here. I have a video to share with you on how I made my 2013 World Card Making Day winning card. It is published in Paper Crafts and Scrapbooking Magazine's March 2014 issue. And to get started, you will need a card base that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, a bunch of paper strips that are about 1/4 of an inch wide, 2 paper strips that are 1/2 an inch wide, and then 2 that are 1 inch. And all the strips should hang over your card base here by quite a bit. So when you kind of make them, just make sure that you have them a bit longer than your actual card base. You're also going to want 2 strips of scrap paper. You're going to need a die. In this case, I used these stars from My Favorite Things Star Stacks. You're going to want some double-sided adhesive and washi tape, scissors, a liquid adhesive, along with some stamps, maybe some enamel dots or whatever you'd like to do to kind of dress up your card. Okay, so to get started, we are going to use these strips here, the purple and the red, and then I use the gray to make the stripes that will fill out the whole card. So first you want to adhere these strips to your card. You can use your double-sided tape and just put them on your card, kind of really wherever you want. When I did mine, I was looking at where the star would fall, and I wanted to make sure that I had kind of pretty much each color available when you die cut. So like in this case, you want to make sure you have a little bit of purple, a little bit of red, and some white that would show through. So I already have one done, and so you can see I already added my strips here, and then I just trimmed off the extra there. Alright, so next we want to add our actual strips here, and to do that I kind of rigged up my own little system, but you're going to need your double-sided tape and washi tape. And let's see, let's get me a little bit here. And I'm going to put my double-sided tape on my mat, but I'm going to have the sticky side up, and I'm going to use my washi tape to hold it to my map here, like that. And then I'm just going to trim it and use a little bit more to hold the other side in place, like that. Okay, so you're gonna actually want one of these on both sides of your card base. And I noticed after I got the cards ready that it's actually a good idea to have a lot of space in between your card base and your double-sided tape, because when you go and you die cut, you're probably going to have a die cut that's off the edge, and you actually don't want to cut this, or at least at the very least not all the way, because then you'll have like 2 pieces, and that would just make things harder. So I actually thought, oh, the second time I'll just, you know, save space and paper and stuff and get closer. But I found out you don't really want to do that, so you do definitely want to have a lot of space in between there. And really you're just going to do the same thing on the other side. Get some washi tape. And put it on my mat. Because these sticky double-sided tape you'll get, where'd my scissors go? You're going to use the double-sided tape to actually adhere your strips to, and it'll hold them in place. So you definitely want these to stay on your mat. Okay. All right. So now I've got my card base here in the middle, and then I just have a few strips here. I'm going to show you how I laid them down, and I have one that I actually continued all the way across the card. And basically I just kind of put them wherever However, I kind of have this thing for seams, and I really don't like how these colors, you know, come together. So I like to cover that. So when I start, I just kind of lightly lay it down. And actually, let me make sure my card is straight first. Okay. And I just kind of lay them where I kind of want them to go. I don't like measure the space in between. I just kind of eyeball it to make sure that they're all kind of the same distance apart. And then I make sure that I'm actually covering that little seam there. It also helps later on, kind of gives you a way to line everything up that you'll see a little bit later. And once you just continue all the way across up the card and down the card. And when you're done, you can just press these into your sticky double tape here. Okay. So then I already have one done. So I just have to pull this up like that. And then you can see I have this one already done. Before you pull yours up, this is where the scrapbook paper comes in handy. I just press a small piece over, so that way when I run it through my die cutting machine, the stickiness here does not stick to your cutting plates, and that I'm sure can be a really big mess. So I'm going to line up my card here, and see now I can move these strips wherever I need them to be, because I know that they need to cover each of these little seams, so I'll know that I have them pretty much in the right spot, like that. So now I need to bring in my cutting plate, and I'm just going to set them on. Let's see, I use a big shot, so I use like the second tab, one cutting plate, and then you want your paper strips here. And I'm going to stick my card base underneath it. I'm just going to use it basically as a guide to where I'm going to put my stars. So I'm going to make sure my stripes are lined up on my card the way I want them, like that. And then I'm going to use my dies, and I'm going to just kind of play with where I want them to be. I want to get as many colors, you know, the red and the purple, the white, in there as possible. The reason I chose stars is because it had lots of edges that would make it, you know, much more interesting than like a circle, but really you could use anything you want. Okay, so I like that. So I'm just going to use a little bit of washi tape to just kind of hold that star in place. And then I'm going to put another one down here. So let's see. I guess about there should be good. Just make sure your stripes are where they need to be. Oh, in fact, this one go up a little. There we go. Okay. And then I can tape this one down. Alright, so then I'm going to just carefully pull my card base out, because you do not want to cut that. And so now my stars are right where I want them. And then I can cover and actually run it through my die cutting machine. So I'm going to go do that real quick. Okay. So I ran it through my die cutting machine. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. You want to be careful when you pull up your top plate, because you want to kind of leave everything where it is. The stripes that are inside your, like the stars or whatever you might use, you don't want those. So you want to be careful to not mix them up with any of these ones that you want. For example, this one is loose, but you're going to want this little piece here later, because you're going to go back and add it to your card base. So make sure you set aside and keep anything that might be loose. Looks like that one's the only one. But the ones inside here you don't want, so you can put those aside. Let me get this off. really sticky. So I'm going to just pull these off so they don't get confused. Oop. And then there's this little piece right here that I do want. So I'm going to stick it in that pile. So I know I need to add it later. Alright, so there's that. Alright, so you can kind of see the shape of the star. See, here's a little piece I don't need because it's inside the star, along with these. That one and these. Okay, so you can kind of see now you have two pieces here. And so you definitely don't want to cut your double-sided tape and end up with like half or lots of pieces. So I'm going to do the same with this one. Slowly try to take that off. Alright, so I want this little piece here, if I can get it. Here's the inside pieces, along with this one, and that one. Okay, so now that you have your pieces kind of separated, you can kind of still see your outline of the star and everything. You can get rid of your cutting plate now. Okay, so I'm going to take your card base, make sure I have the right side. Alright, so now here's where it kind of is a little tricky and a little bit tedious, but I think it's kind of worth it in the end. So now you kind of have to find where these stripes go on your card base. And again, you can use the fact that you kind of hid these seams as a guide. And some of them you kind of have to press up to where they would go. And let's see, I think that one goes there, up a little. And you also want to make sure that your stripes kind of match up. So sometimes I'll take my star and kind of use it as a guide to know, how far, if it needs to be way out here or in, kind of how far apart my two sides need to be. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Let me first get this squared. So it's a lot of kind of just playing with it to make sure that you have it where you need it to be. Okay, ooh, this goes up a little. Alright, so that's roughly where you want. And okay, so the next step is to actually add and glue these strips to your card base. And let's see, here it is. So I just use a liquid adhesive and a toothpick. And all I do is just bend back one of the strips. And basically you just kind of have to pick a spot and start. Like, let's see. You want to make sure everything's lined up right before you start gluing. So once you get one on there, then the rest it's a little easier, like they can't move quite as easily. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm just going to bend it back here. And then just add a little bit of glue. And the reason why I like to use liquid is that I can move this around a little bit to get it to the right spot. So there would be one, and I just would continue to do the next one, glue it, kind of press it down, and then when I get to this side I double check to make sure I have it in the right spot. And then one little trick especially as you go back to add these little pieces. This little piece here, let's see, I think it went about there, so yeah, so you can see this piece helps finish this point of the star. And when you go and glue him, because he's kind of, you know, he's just out there, this star point has to go about there or so. So when you go and actually glue him down, I just use a piece of scrap and I press these down. Let's see, oh, here's the very point here, and then I can press these and I can get that angle, and I kind of know where to glue down this floating piece here and get the right angle. So, and actually there's only 3 pieces in this particular one that are actually floating, so it wasn't too bad. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less, depending on, you know, where you actually put your star. So I already have one finished. Oh, here it is. So here's one that has each strip already glued down, and here you can kind of see this is another floating one, and I would just use this to kind of get, well, it's a little off because of that, but just to kind of help make sure that I have this at the right angle, and then it's at the right to match up with the remaining strip. And really the last thing I did was just add some enamel dots. I stamped my thank you up here because of this little piece up here rather than down here. And so that's it. I hope you had fun and give it a try. Thanks.